Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to managing blood sugar and enhancing gut health, especially for seniors, there's one food that sparks a lot of debate: rice. Some fear it, others cling to it. But here's the truth: you don't need to eliminate rice to take control of your health. You just need to know how to hack it.
Today, I want to share 5 science backed rice strategies that can help seniors lower blood sugar and support a thriving gut without giving up the foods you love.
When we talk about improving metabolic health, especially in seniors, few foods create more confusion than rice. For many, rice is comfort food: steamed, fragrant, nourishing, familiar. But for others, especially those concerned about blood sugar levels or type 2 diabetes, rice often feels like the enemy. The truth, however, is more nuanced. Rice is not inherently harmful. In fact, certain types of rice can support better health outcomes if you know what to look for. Let's break down how to think about rice, starting with its glycemic impact. The glycemic index, GI, measures how quickly a carbohydrate containing food raises blood glucose. The higher the GI, the faster your blood sugar spikes. White rice, particularly the highly refined long grain types, sits on the higher end of this scale. It's rapidly digested and absorbed, leading to a quick surge in blood sugar followed by an equally quick drop. For seniors, many of whom are dealing with insulin resistance or prediabetes, that roller coaster effect can be harmful over time. It stresses the pancreas, increases inflammation, and contributes to fatigue, brain fog, and long-term metabolic dysfunction. But not all rice is created equal. There are varieties that behave very differently in the body, slower to digest, richer in nutrients, and gentler on blood sugar. Let's start with black rice, sometimes called forbidden rice in ancient Chinese culture. This dark, almost purple grain gets its color from anthocyanins, the same antioxidant compounds found in blueberries and eggplants. These compounds have been shown to reduce oxidative stress, protect blood vessels, and lower inflammation, key factors in preventing chronic diseases like heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Black rice also has a lower glycemic index than white rice, making it a smarter choice for seniors looking to stabilize their energy and blood sugar throughout the day. Then there's red rice, which contains a rich supply of phenolic compounds and flavonoids, natural plant chemicals that help combat inflammation and improve cholesterol levels. Red rice, like black rice, has more fiber and more micronutrients than white rice. Its fiber slows down the absorption of glucose, leading to a more stable post-meal response. And this is critical because as we age, our body's ability to regulate blood sugar becomes less efficient. The more we can support it with food that works with our biology rather than against it, the better. Now consider parboiled rice, a variety that sits somewhere between white and brown rice in terms of processing, but with a unique twist. Parboiled rice is soaked, steamed, and then dried before milling. This process drives some of the vitamins and minerals from the bran into the grain, making it more nutritious. But more importantly, it also changes the rice's starch structure, making it more resistant to digestion. The result: a lower glycemic impact and a boost for your gut microbiome. And let's not forget brown rice. While it's often praised for being a whole grain, the benefit of brown rice comes not just from its intact fiber content, but also from its higher magnesium levels, a mineral critical for insulin sensitivity and glucose control. Magnesium is often depleted in older adults, especially those with metabolic issues. So incorporating more magnesium-rich foods, like brown rice, can have a measurable benefit. But even within these better options, quality and preparation matter. Organic or heirloom varieties are often less processed and more nutrient dense, and how the rice is cooked, cooled, and combined with other foods, which we'll explore in later points, also significantly alters its impact on blood sugar and gut health. So what does this mean for your dinner plate? It means replacing white rice, at least most of the time, with one of these better options. Try black rice with stir-fried vegetables and tofu. Mix red rice into a grain bowl with roasted root vegetables and olive oil. Use parboiled rice as a base for lentils and curry. These are small, achievable shifts that don't ask you to give up rice altogether, but rather to upgrade it. For seniors, this shift is especially important. As metabolism slows with age and insulin sensitivity declines, every food choice becomes more impactful. And rice, because it's often eaten in large amounts and multiple times a week, holds an outsized influence on blood sugar control.
Think of choosing the right rice as fueling your body on your terms. You're not surrendering comfort or culture, you're optimizing the foods you love to match your body's changing needs.
And here's the best part. You'll likely find that these healthier rice varieties have more flavor, more texture, and more satisfaction. The nutty chew of red rice, the deep aroma of black rice, the satisfying density of parboiled rice, they don't just protect your health, they elevate your meal. So the next time you reach for that bag of white rice at the store, pause. Look one shelf over. There's a smarter choice waiting. And your body, your brain, your gut, they'll all thank you for it. When we think about food and how it affects the body, we often assume that what we eat is the only thing that matters. But how food is prepared, even the temperature at which it's served, can dramatically influence its impact on our health. Let's take rice as an example. It's one of the most widely consumed grains in the world, and for good reason. It's affordable, versatile, and comforting. But for many seniors, the concern around rice isn't about flavor, it's about blood sugar. Cooked white rice in particular is known for having a high glycemic index. That means it converts quickly into glucose in the bloodstream, leading to sugar spikes that can disrupt energy levels, impair insulin function, and contribute to long-term metabolic problems. But there's a fascinating nutritional shift that occurs when you change just one thing. You cool the rice after cooking it. Here's what happens. When rice is cooked, its starch molecules swell and gelatinize, becoming soft and easy to digest. This is what makes rice fluffy and appealing, but also rapidly absorbable by the digestive system. However, when you cool rice by putting it in the refrigerator for several hours or overnight, some of that digestible starch undergoes a transformation. It becomes what scientists call resistant starch. Resistant starch is a unique type of carbohydrate. Unlike typical starch, it resists digestion in the small intestine and travels down to the colon intact. There, it acts more like dietary fiber, feeding the good bacteria that reside in your gut. This not only nourishes your microbiome, it leads to the production of beneficial short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. So what does this mean practically? It means that a bowl of cooled rice is metabolically different from a steaming bowl of freshly cooked rice, even if they started from the exact same grain. Your body digests them differently. One spikes glucose, the other provides slow-release energy and gut support. This one simple shift, cooking your rice, letting it cool, and reheating it gently when needed, can dramatically change your body's response. And this isn't hypothetical. Multiple studies have shown that resistant starch can improve blood sugar regulation, lower post-meal glucose spikes, and support healthy weight management. For seniors whose metabolism naturally slows and whose insulin sensitivity often declines with age, this makes cooled rice not just a culinary option, but a metabolic strategy. Let's go deeper. When resistant starch reaches the large intestine, it becomes a preferred food source for a group of microbes known as butyrate-producing bacteria. These bacteria are vital for gut health. They help maintain the integrity of the gut lining, reduce systemic inflammation, and even support mood and cognitive function by influencing the gut-brain axis. So by cooling your rice, you're not just lowering blood sugar, you're nurturing a healthier, more diverse microbiome. Now, you might be wondering, does reheating the rice after cooling it eliminate these benefits? Great question. The answer is no. Once the resistant starch has formed during the cooling process, it remains stable, even when the rice is reheated, as long as you warm it gently and don't overcook it again. This makes it incredibly convenient. You can cook a larger batch of rice, store it in the fridge, and use it throughout the week without losing the resistant starch benefits. You could make a stir fry with cooled rice and vegetables. You could use it in a rice salad with olive oil and herbs, or simply warm it up and serve it alongside a lean protein and fiber-rich greens. The point is, this technique adds zero cost and barely any extra time, but gives you a measurable boost in both blood sugar control and gut resilience. There's also another benefit here. Portion control becomes easier. Cooled rice tends to have a firmer texture, which encourages slower eating. That alone can support better satiety and digestion. When you slow down and chew more, you give your digestive system a chance to regulate hormones like leptin and ghrelin, which govern hunger and fullness. And let's be honest, this isn't about turning rice into a superfood. It's about working with your biology, not against it. It's about understanding the subtleties of food science and using them to your advantage, especially as your body's needs change with age. Most importantly, this is an empowering message. You don't have to give up rice to protect your health. You just have to prepare it with a little more intention. And that's good news because it means you can keep the foods you love while creating a body that functions better, feels more energized, and stays more resilient over time. So the next time you cook rice, don't toss out the leftovers. Let them cool, store them, enjoy them the next day. You'll be supporting your gut, stabilizing your glucose, and making a small but powerful shift toward better long-term health. And all it takes is a little time in the fridge. Let's talk about a powerful yet often overlooked upgrade you can make to your meals, especially when rice is on the plate. Something you probably already have in your kitchen. It costs next to nothing, and it could be one of the easiest, fastest ways to blunt blood sugar spikes, support digestion, and improve metabolic health, especially for seniors. What is it? A splash of vinegar or a squeeze of lemon juice? Now, I know what you're thinking. How can something as small as that make any real difference? The answer lies in how these acidic ingredients influence your body's response to carbohydrates, particularly starches like rice. When we eat rice, especially the more refined types like white rice, our digestive system rapidly breaks it down into glucose, which enters the bloodstream quickly. That causes a sharp rise in blood sugar, followed by a corresponding insulin surge. Over time, these spikes and crashes contribute to fatigue, weight gain, inflammation, and the progression of insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. But here's where it gets interesting. Adding a mild acid, such as vinegar or lemon juice, can slow down the rate at which rice is digested and converted into glucose. This reduces the glycemic impact of the meal. The result? A gentler rise in blood sugar, more stable energy levels, and a lower demand on your pancreas to produce insulin. The science behind this is well established. Studies have shown that consuming vinegar before or during a high-carb meal can significantly reduce post-meal glucose spikes, particularly in people who are insulin resistant or living with type 2 diabetes. One study published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adding vinegar to white bread reduced its glycemic response by as much as 31%. Similar results have been observed with rice and other starches. So how does it work? Vinegar, especially apple cider vinegar, contains acetic acid, a compound that slows gastric emptying. This means that food moves more slowly from the stomach into the small intestine, allowing glucose to enter the bloodstream gradually instead of all at once. Acetic acid also enhances muscle glucose uptake, which helps your cells absorb sugar more efficiently, reducing how much remains in circulation. Lemon juice works in a similar way. While it doesn't contain acetic acid, its citric acid also contributes to lowering the pH of your stomach, slowing digestion, and modifying carbohydrate absorption. Plus, lemons contain flavonoids like hesperidin, which offer antioxidant and anti-inflammatory benefits, another boost for your metabolic and cardiovascular health. Now, let's bring this to the plate. How do you actually use vinegar or lemon juice with rice? It's incredibly easy. You can add a teaspoon of vinegar or a squeeze of lemon juice directly to your cooked rice just before serving, or stir it into a rice salad with olive oil and herbs for a Mediterranean-style twist. You can even mix a small amount into your cooking water, though most of the benefits come from adding it just before or during the meal. If you prefer more flavor, try using balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, or rice vinegar. Each has a slightly different taste profile, and all contribute the same beneficial acidity. The key is moderation. A teaspoon or two per serving is all it takes. For those who find vinegar too strong on its own, combining it with olive oil or a little Dijon mustard creates a gentle vinaigrette that pairs beautifully with rice, vegetables, or proteins. It enhances the flavor while delivering real metabolic benefits. Another tip, if you're having rice with protein like grilled chicken or fish, consider a lemon-based marinade or sauce. Not only does this enhance flavor and tenderness, it also builds in that glycemic buffer. In fact, marinating meats in acid-based mixtures can even reduce the formation of harmful compounds when cooking at high heat. So your lemon or vinegar does double duty, lowering your blood sugar and protecting your overall health. And here's an added bonus for seniors. Vinegar and lemon juice can support digestion in general. As we age, stomach acid levels tend to decline, which can make it harder to digest protein and absorb essential nutrients like B12, calcium, and magnesium. A small amount of dietary acid can gently stimulate digestion, helping to restore a more functional gut environment and reduce bloating or discomfort after meals. It's important to remember, though, that vinegar, especially in larger amounts, can be harsh on tooth enamel or irritating to those with acid reflux. So always dilute it or consume it with food, not on an empty stomach. And if you have any underlying digestive issues, start small and see how your body responds. This is not about gimmicks or trendy diets. It's about using science to guide small but strategic changes. A teaspoon here, a squeeze there. These are minimal efforts that yield measurable benefits over time. For seniors whose bodies are naturally more sensitive to blood sugar fluctuations and slower to recover from oxidative stress, these little interventions are not just helpful, they're essential. So the next time you prepare rice, take a moment to elevate it. Add that splash of vinegar, squeeze that wedge of lemon. You're not just seasoning your food, you're lowering your glycemic load, supporting your gut, and building a stronger foundation for long-term health. And that's the kind of upgrade your body will notice. Meal after meal, day after day, rice is a staple food across the globe. It's warm, filling, and comforting. But as we age, when metabolism slows and insulin sensitivity begins to wane, eating rice alone can start to pose challenges. Why? Because rice, especially white rice, is primarily a simple carbohydrate. And when eaten in isolation, it can cause rapid spikes in blood glucose. Over time, those spikes can lead to insulin resistance, inflammation, and even cognitive decline. But here's the good news. You don't need to give up rice. Instead, you just need to change what you eat with it. Think of rice as the base of the meal, not the whole story. When you surround it with the right foods, you can change the entire metabolic experience. The key players in this balancing act are fiber and protein. Let's talk about fiber first. Fiber is an indigestible carbohydrate that acts like a traffic controller for your digestive system. It slows down how quickly food leaves your stomach and moves through your intestines. When you eat fiber-rich foods with rice, such as leafy greens, beans, or non-starchy vegetables, you create a sort of internal buffer zone. This slows down the breakdown of starches into glucose, so your blood sugar rises more gradually. That means less stress on your pancreas, fewer crashes in energy, and a steadier mood. And there's more. Fiber also feeds your gut microbiome. When soluble fiber is fermented in the colon, it produces short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. In other words, fiber doesn't just help in the moment, it helps your body function better over time. For older adults who are more vulnerable to inflammation and metabolic slowdown, this is a game changer. So what are the best fiber sources to pair with rice? Try tossing in sautéed spinach or kale, shredded cabbage, roasted Brussels sprouts, or a generous scoop of legumes like chickpeas or black beans. Even a small salad with a lemon vinaigrette on the side can make a meaningful difference. Now let's shift to protein, the other half of the equation. Protein is essential for maintaining muscle mass, immune strength, and metabolic stability, especially as we age. But when it comes to blood sugar control, protein plays a more immediate role. It slows down digestion and prevents carbohydrates from overwhelming the bloodstream all at once. When you eat rice alongside a healthy source of protein like grilled fish, tofu, chicken, lentils, or even a soft-boiled egg, you create a physiological brake on how fast glucose is absorbed. That means less insulin is required, and you reduce the likelihood of storing excess sugar as fat. It also increases satiety, so you're less likely to overeat or crave sugary snacks later. A plate of rice and vegetables is good. A plate of rice, vegetables, and protein, that's metabolic medicine. And the combination of fiber and protein isn't just additive, it's synergistic. Together, they transform a simple rice dish into something that supports your blood sugar, gut health, energy levels, and longevity. Let's walk through an example. Imagine a senior preparing a lunch of plain white rice. Eaten alone, this rice will quickly digest into glucose, leading to a fast spike in blood sugar. Now picture that same bowl of rice topped with steamed broccoli, fiber, grilled salmon protein, and a spoonful of avocado, healthy fat and fiber. Suddenly, that meal becomes slow digesting, nutrient dense, and anti inflammatory. The rice hasn't changed, but the context around it has. And that changes everything about how your body responds. These are the kind of practical daily decisions that add up for older adults who may be managing blood pressure, cholesterol, arthritis, or cognitive health. These food combinations are about more than just numbers, they're about quality of life. One more note, the type of protein matters. Highly processed meats like sausage or bacon may offer protein, but they also introduce pro-inflammatory compounds, excess sodium, and harmful fats. Instead, aim for clean, whole food sources of protein, wild-caught fish, pastured poultry, organic tofu, tempeh, or legumes. Not only do these support metabolic health, they also contribute valuable micronutrients like magnesium, potassium, and omega-3s, which are especially important in aging bodies. And don't forget about plant-based protein. Combining rice with beans or lentils forms a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids. This is a fantastic option for those looking to reduce animal products or improve digestion. So here's the takeaway. Rice by itself is quick burning fuel, but when you anchor it with fiber and protein, it becomes a balanced, sustained source of nourishment. You smooth out your blood sugar, you feed your microbiome, you build muscle, you stay fuller longer, and you feel better. This isn't about deprivation or strict rules. It's about learning how food works inside the body and then using that knowledge to make choices that keep you strong, clear-minded, and resilient. So the next time you serve rice, look at your plate and ask, where's the fiber? Where's the protein? With just a little planning, you'll turn that simple grain into a tool for healing. When we think about improving blood sugar and gut health, especially later in life, it's easy to focus on what we eat. But one of the most overlooked and most powerful factors is how much we eat. The truth is, portion size plays a critical role in metabolic health. And for seniors, mastering portion control isn't just about calorie reduction. It's about balance, precision, and respect for the body's changing needs. Let's start with rice. It's delicious, comforting, and deeply ingrained in the culinary traditions of countless cultures. But rice is also calorie dense and carbohydrate rich. That means it can very easily tip the scales literally when it's served in large amounts. And unfortunately, most servings in restaurants or even at home are far more than the body actually needs. Why does this matter? Because rice, especially white rice, is rapidly converted into glucose once it's digested. If you eat a large portion, your blood sugar can spike quickly. That triggers a surge in insulin. And if this pattern repeats day after day, it can contribute to insulin resistance, weight gain, and even fatty liver disease. For older adults who may already have diminished insulin sensitivity, large rice portions can quietly accelerate metabolic decline. But here's where things get encouraging. You don't need to eliminate rice to protect your health. You simply need to control the amount. And even small reductions in portion size can create measurable changes in your blood sugar response. So what does a healthy rice portion actually look like? For most adults, especially seniors, a portion of rice should be about high cup cooked, or roughly the size of your cupped hand. This provides enough energy to fuel your body without overwhelming it with sugar. It also leaves room on the plate for fiber-rich vegetables, lean protein, and healthy fats, the components that slow digestion, promote satiety, and support long-term wellness. When you shrink the portion of rice, you're not depriving yourself. You're making space for diversity on your plate. And that diversity is what nourishes your gut and stabilizes your metabolism. You turn rice from a dominating force into a balanced, supportive element of the meal. It's also important to remember that appetite changes with age. Seniors tend to have slightly lower caloric needs, but often still prepare or consume meals in the same way they did decades earlier. That mismatch can lead to subtle weight gain, which in turn makes the body more resistant to insulin and less able to handle carbohydrates efficiently. Portion control is about realigning intake with your body's actual requirements, giving it just enough, not too much, and always in balance with other nutrient-dense foods. There's also a powerful psychological shift that happens when we become more mindful of portion size. Studies show that when people consciously reduce their portions, even by a small amount, they tend to feel more in control, more energized, and more satisfied after eating. This is especially important for seniors who may be dealing with medication-related appetite fluctuations, digestive issues, or emotional connections to food. Here's a strategy to make portion control easy and intuitive. Build your plate in a visual ratio. Fill half the plate with non-starchy vegetables: broccoli, kale, cabbage, zucchini, or leafy greens. Reserve a quarter of the plate for lean protein like salmon, chicken, lentils, or tofu. And let the final quarter be your rice or whole grain, no more than I-fat cup. By visualizing your meal this way, you create balance without needing to count calories or track macros. Your blood sugar rises more slowly, your gut receives the fiber it craves, and you stay full longer naturally. Another effective tactic: use a smaller plate or bowl. Research has consistently shown that we eat more when food is served on larger dishware. Downsizing the plate tricks the brain into thinking we're eating more, while actually keeping portions in a healthy range. For rice, a small side bowl rather than a main plate can make all the difference. You can also bulk up the meal by mixing rice with vegetables or legumes. This creates a more fiber-rich, filling base that satisfies with less total starch. Cauliflower rice mixed with brown rice, for example, doubles the volume while cutting the glycemic load. Or mix black beans into red rice for a complete protein that slows digestion and leaves you more nourished. And finally, take your time. Eating slowly enhances portion control naturally. When you slow down, chew thoroughly, and engage with the meal, you allow your satiety hormones like leptin and peptide YY to signal your brain that you've had enough. That process takes about 15 to 20 minutes. If you finish a large plate of rice in 5 minutes, you miss that signal and end up eating more than your body needs. So here's the bottom line. Portion control isn't about restriction. It's about precision. It's about meeting your body where it is, honoring your metabolism, your digestion, and your goals for healthy aging. By right-sizing your serving of rice, you allow room for everything else your body thrives on: fiber, protein, phytonutrients, healthy fats. You reduce stress on your pancreas, keep your blood sugar steady, and set the stage for long-term gut and metabolic resilience. It's not a sacrifice, it's a strategy. When we think about what makes a meal healthy, most people focus on calories, carbs, or fat content. But there's another dimension often ignored that plays a critical role in blood sugar balance, immune resilience, and whole body wellness. That dimension is the microbiome, the vast community of microbes that live in your gut. And when it comes to nurturing the microbiome, few foods are as powerful or as underutilized as fermented foods. These foods, which include things like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, and kombucha, are naturally rich in probiotics, beneficial bacteria that support gut health, digestion, and metabolic regulation. When paired with meals that include rice, these fermented sides do far more than enhance flavor. They become metabolic allies working behind the scenes to help regulate blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and even improve how the body processes nutrients. Let's start with how this works. When you eat fermented foods, you're introducing live bacteria into your digestive tract. Species like Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium. These microbes aren't just passive visitors, they actively participate in digestion. They help break down complex starches, neutralize toxins, and produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which calm inflammation and enhance insulin sensitivity. And when these beneficial bacteria thrive, so do you. Now consider what happens when you pair fermented foods with a carbohydrate-rich food like rice. Normally rice, especially white rice, can spike blood glucose quickly, but adding a fermented component changes the dynamic. Certain probiotic strains have been shown to reduce the glycemic impact of meals by influencing how carbohydrates are absorbed and how insulin is released. One study found that consuming fermented vegetables alongside a starchy meal reduced post-meal blood sugar more effectively than the same meal without them. Why? Because the acids and probiotics in fermented foods slow gastric emptying, promote the secretion of incretin hormones, which help moderate insulin release, and shift the microbial environment in the gut toward a more stable anti-inflammatory state. For older adults who often experience gut dysbiosis, reduced enzyme production, and sluggish digestion, this makes fermented foods an essential part of the nutritional toolbox. They help restore balance, assist with nutrient absorption, and improve the body's ability to manage sugar naturally. And there's another layer to this. The gut microbiome is intricately connected to the immune system, brain, and metabolism. By improving microbial diversity with fermented foods, you enhance not just digestive function, but also mood stability, cognitive clarity, and hormonal balance. This is especially important in later life when inflammation tends to rise and immune function can become compromised. Now, let's bring this back to the plate. Imagine a simple meal of rice and vegetables. It's a decent start, but add a spoonful of kimchi on the side, or a few slices of naturally fermented pickles, or even a dollop of plain yogurt, and suddenly you've created a functional meal that works on multiple levels. It's not about eating large amounts. A few tablespoons of fermented vegetables or half a cup of plain kefir is often enough to deliver meaningful benefits. What matters most is consistency. When you include a fermented element in your meals regularly, you create a constant flow of healthy microbes to replenish your gut and fortify your metabolism. You can start small. Here are a few simple ideas. Add sauerkraut or kimchi to a rice bowl with greens and grilled tofu. Serve plain Greek yogurt alongside a curry or spicy rice dish to cool the palate and support digestion. Sip on a small glass of kefir with lunch to boost gut flora and protein intake. Mix miso paste into soup served before a rice-based meal. Enjoy a spoonful of fermented vegetables like pickled beets or carrots with dinner. Importantly, not all fermented foods are created equal. Look for products that are unpasteurized and state live active cultures on the label. Pasteurization kills beneficial bacteria, so shelf-stable pickles and commercial sauerkraut may not offer the same benefits as their raw refrigerated counterparts. Better yet, you can even try fermenting vegetables at home. It's simpler than most people think and incredibly cost-effective. Also, be mindful of added sugar and salt. Some commercial fermented products, especially flavored yogurts or sweetened kombucha, can be high in sugar, which undermines the blood sugar benefits you're trying to achieve. Stick to plain, unsweetened versions and add fresh fruit or herbs for flavor if needed. It's worth noting that if you're new to fermented foods, it's wise to introduce them gradually. For some people, especially those with gut imbalances, jumping in too quickly can cause temporary bloating or discomfort. Start with a small portion once a day and allow your digestive system to adapt. And here's something remarkable. As your gut health improves, so does your ability to tolerate carbohydrates. This means that over time, rice and other grains may actually become less metabolically disruptive simply because your body is better equipped to process them. That's the power of a strong microbiome. So next time you prepare a meal with rice, think beyond the grain. Ask yourself, where's the living food? Where's the microbial support? By adding a fermented side, you're not just enhancing taste, you're bringing in a strategic ally that helps your gut, your glucose, and your long-term health. This is how food becomes functional when each ingredient plays a purpose, and even small additions can lead to big lasting improvements in how you feel and how you age.